TCU and Georgia will take the field to face each other and play for college football's highest award this coming Monday, January 9th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This is not a preview video, but rather this is me just giving my thoughts for about 10 minutes. And it's only 10 minutes because it's talking about one specific topic. Not really a prediction, sort of a preview, but also not really. This is more just talking about a massive number involving these two teams. That number is 13.5. Want to take a guess at it in the comments below? Over the next 5 seconds, I invite you to do so, and I'll give you 5 seconds of silence to guess it. That number is the spread that Georgia is favored by to beat TCU. Georgia is ranked first in ESPN's FPI. TCU is still ranked 10th even after beating Michigan. TCU is given 16.8 points in the Football Power Index. Georgia's given 28. So if you're to round it to the nearest whole integer, Georgia on average would beat TCU by 11 points every time they played. So even Vegas is picking Georgia to beat TCU by more than what computers would pick Georgia to beat TCU by on average. All this to say that Georgia is a massive favorite, and I think this might be the biggest favorite in the national title game in the college football playoff history. It might be the biggest, like the most one-sided game in terms of spread in the history of a national title game. I'd have to correct if that's true or not, but 13.5, what that is basically saying is that TCU doesn't deserve to be here. Georgia's favored by 550 on the money line. The over-under is 62.5. Now here's the even more interesting part. Georgia is 7-7 against the spread. They're 14-0, but they're 7-7, and they have struggled in many close games. TCU has had many close games. But TCU, they haven't been favored by nearly as much as Georgia has. They're 10-3-1 against the spread. I still have yet to decide who I'm picking to win it all, and you'll know in a day or two after this video is released when I release my official prediction video. But one thing's close for darn sure. I'm pretty sure I'm picking TCU to cover this spread. At 13.5, Georgia's favored by nearly 2 touchdowns. Georgia has struggled with the likes of Kentucky. They've struggled with the likes of Missouri. Ohio State darn near beat them. And believe me when I say that TCU, while they don't have the same talent that Ohio State does, and Ohio State has a much higher ceiling than TCU does, Ohio State and TCU, they're not treated the same by the media. Georgia's going to be fed a lot more rat poison in this matchup. They're going to be told that they basically got the hard part out of the way and that TCU is going to be a much easier game than Ohio State. And maybe that's true, but TCU being a team that is vertical in the passing attack, a team that can run the football, a team that is more physical in the trenches than perhaps anyone expected, they're certainly, I would say, one of, if not the toughest team in college football, and they're nearly 14-point underdogs to a team that consistently fails to cover the spread and a team that has seemed to escape time and time again. And this isn't me dogging on the dogs, no pun intended. This is just what it is, it's an opinion of mine that this is too much of a favorite, too much of a point spread in any game of this matchup. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Georgia will roll through them. But if I'm a Georgia fan, I don't want to be favored by 14.5 against a team that is infinitely better at covering the spread, against a team that seemingly feeds off of doubt. I just don't like it. And I say I don't like it too because from most perspectives, I would pick Georgia to be the favorite and to win. But these things play a role. They play a psychological role, and it's not just they play a psychological role. If you can read spreads right, and I necessarily can't do that, you can tell who Vegas is favoring by who bets, who the experienced bettors put money behind. And listen, Georgia's favored for rightful reasons. I would favor Georgia. Now, does that mean I would pick TCU to, lose every time in a 10-game series? No. But Georgia has much more talent. They're the most talented team in the playoff. They're the reigning national champions. They're on a 16-game win streak. I mean, Georgia should be favored. No question. But TCU is the wide receiver and QB play to not do exactly what OSU did, because I think OSU's talent helped them in that matchup, but they'll hang points on Georgia. I'm confident in that. I'm absolutely confident. And I didn't put this down for these 3 bullet points, but their defense. Listen, Stetson Bennett threw nearly several picks against Ohio State. TCU's secondary is not dropping any of those potential interceptions. Maybe they'll drop one, but their defense is more opportunistic. Their offense, the way that Ohio State played Georgia, the play calling, the aggression, that's what TCU has been all year. They're schematically amazing. It compensates for their talent disparity against, they've played Texas, they played Michigan, they've played, Oklahoma State, they've played Oklahoma, Texas, Michigan. Those are 3 teams who have much more star talent than TCU. TCU buried Oklahoma. They removed their organs, and they put them in a grave and put a mound of dirt on them in that biblical beatdown. Against Texas, they shut them down on their own home field, and they surprised Michigan and caught Michigan, metaphorically speaking, they caught Michigan with their pants down and beat them. So this team is opportunistic. I think they will take advantage of Georgia's secondary, but Georgia's more talented at every position and is the number 1 team for a reason. So can TCU beat Michigan? Not Michigan, but can they beat Georgia? Still, my mind is on that Fiesta Bowl game from yesterday. Can they? Who knows at this point, because Georgia being favored by 13.5 just tells you not only what everyone thinks of TCU, but what everyone thinks of Georgia. If TCU is a team that truly has magic and luck on their side, like some say, and Georgia comes with their A game, this could be an ugly end of the road. But TCU, the flip side of it, also is very opportunistic, and some of that quote-unquote magic is just how good they are at scheming. So, we'll see. Georgia's more talented. TCU, I'd honestly say, just from what they've achieved this year with their talent and first-year head coach, I'd say they're definitely the higher achievers. They're more efficient with the talent they have. And TCU they're like a frog in a certain sense. They leap out of nowhere, and they get on you. They mess you up, and yeah, and like a frog too, you don't even see them sometimes. You just kind of overlook them. And part of me feels like that's what this spread is, but part of me also could say that as I'll look in the coming days, there could be a matchup here that not a whole lot of people are seeing, but that could give Georgia this massive dominating edge. And in the same way that good teams improve after they've been tested, but they still won, or even if they lost, Georgia is they're going to fix some, not all, but they're going to try and fix the problems that Ohio State exposed. And I know that they can do that because of their talent, because their head coach, because their coordinators. TCU, it's a little bit of a different story because they don't have the same talent, and because TCU played a very good game on defense early, and they played I mean, no one has abused Michigan's defense in the second half like TCU has. So maybe the mulligan's out for TCU. Maybe TCU really is the number 1, number 2 team in the country, and just the way that they are top tier isn't what we're used to, so we're refusing to see it. But Georgia, I'd say, is more talented. They're clearly number 1 until proven otherwise, but that doesn't mean necessarily that they'll win every time. And you only need to win once to win the national title. You don't need to win a 10-game series. So can TCU beat Georgia? I think they can, but they're not favored to do so. They shouldn't be favored to do so. And the question of will be answered on the field Monday. So let me know down below what you guys think about that spread, what you think about that number. Do you think TCU will cover it, or do you think Georgia's just that they're due for another big performance in a big game? Let me know down below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I post content and go live. And if you're listening via Spotify, make sure to follow the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you around. Bye-bye.